What up YouTube, it's Misery8's Company. In today's video, we are jumping into one of my favorite, if not my ultimate favorite, Crusader builds. This one's all about damage. So we're taking a class that is typically known for being a support class, buffing up everyone else, and we're making it selfish. We're making it super good for dungeons and raids while still maintaining that holy banner for all of our allies. This build is going to drop some serious crits and do some serious continual damage. Now, without further ado, guys, let's get straight to the video because this one is just stupid good. You're going to want to try it. It's really the best builds when it comes to raiding and or dungeoning. It does lack mobility, but I do have a separate build for that, especially when it comes to farming at a later date here in a few days. But this build is all about damage. Let's get straight to it. All right, so we're sitting in Mad King's Breach. Like I said, this build is all about damage. It's all about, we're sacrificing our movement and we are just doing all the damage we can. So we're going to jump straight into this, summon this little mini boss here on Mad King's Breach, and then we are going to do our full rotation, Holy Banner. Oh, wow, that's that fear. Drop this, sidestep those, drop all of our shields, and then boom. So we're already literally burn through half of his health. Now, while we have our sort of like cooldowns up, this is when the build is a little bit weaker, and it is subject to the sort of ebbs and flows, if you will, of the high cooldown abilities. We already have him almost halfway done, and with this little rotation, he is going to be basically blown up. So, and just like that, he is gone. So like I said, you do consistent damage overall, but you get some massive peaks when it's time for your high cooldown abilities, which we will talk about here in a second when I show you guys the skills as well as the legendary essences and the sec gear I would recommend for this build. Like I said, it does lack mobility, so you're gonna have to walk literally everywhere you go, which is a little slow, but it does not lack in damage or buffing with the Holy Banner. So guys, we're going to jump over to West March so we can take a look at the armory and look at the build that we are calling the nuke build for the Crusader. Let's get straight to it. Here we are at the armory. We are looking at our raid build. And like I said, guys, let's go and look at the skills. So the skills, we are using Sacred Fire, which is going to ignite the air with holy flames from your weapon, dealing damage. This is just the main attack, and we're going to buff the heck out of it with actually two different main hands. The next one is Spinning Shield. That's the one that you saw where I just dropped 3 of them. It has the, you can use it every 3 seconds, but also you can do 3 maximum charges of it. Next is going to be Condemn. That's going to be how we really use it as sort of like a ticking time bomb to set off the rest of our bombs or our burns, if you will. Next is going to be Judgment. That's what we use to summon and do, as well as doing part of our nuke. And then last but not least is obviously Holy Banner. Now let's go and start at the top here. So the head is going to be the headpiece that we use on literally everything. And this is the one where it's Commander. The inspiration from your Holy Banner now moves with you. Holy Banner cooldown reduced by 2.4 seconds. That's just because I'm at tier 2 of the Essence Mastery system. Now going down to the shoulders, we are using Guardian of Justice. So Judgment instead summons a Guardian of Justice to fight for you. Judgment damage increased by 6%. This guy also benefits from your Holy Banner, which means he's doing a ton of damage and a ton of crits. And he also does damage as he's summoned and he hits the ground. And we saw that in the fight as well. First main hand that we're going to be using is Sacred Fire. Now hurls waves of flames, dealing 2,669 damage to all enemies in their path. And then because of the level 2 Essence Mastery, damage increased by 30%. Now this one is really the bread and butter. This one is the one that it took me the longest to farm for. So this is the Sacred Fire now ignites enemies, burning them for 9,940 damage over 2 seconds. So your auto attacks are now going to be burning people and also doing this wave of fire that that shot out. And we saw that as well. It gives you a little more range for your auto attacks as well. Moving up to the chest piece, Valor's Retribution. Condemn now fills your soul with Valor's Retribution for 5 seconds, causing every primary attack to unleash a lightning bolt at your target, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. Condemn damage increased by 6%, again for level 2. For your pants, Condemn deals 15% increased damage for each harmful effect the enemy is suffering from, okay, up to a maximum of 52%. Now, again, we are going to be adding a continuous damage to them every single time we auto attack. And then the Condemn is going to make our auto attacks do even more damage. Now, the first offhand is going to be Spinning Shield, hovers at a location, damaging enemies and decreasing their movement speed. Spinning Shield damage increased by 6% for the level 2 mastery. So this is the one where you drop literally all 3 on a boss. It's really good for like those low mobility fights because they stay in one spot, they don't move around at all. Last but not least is the other shield or offhand that we're using, which is Condemn Immediately. Triggers all continual damage on the targets it hits, causing them to take the remaining damage instantly. Condemn cooldown reduction by 1.2% for level 2 of the Essence Mastery system. So basically you load up a bunch of burns when you're critting, and then you do, like with your Holy Banner, you're doing all the crits, and then you drop your bomb of your Judgment with the Guardian, and then you're burning them. You set off the detonation, make them take all the burn damage up front, and then you just reapply it all, and you do even more damage with your auto attacks with the Condemn. Build is so strong. By far one of my favorite builds. It does, like I said, sort of ebb and flow with the power strikes, power spikes, if you will, from these last 2 skills, and they do have a pretty decent cooldown. But ultimately, I really very much enjoy this build and found it very good for both raids and dungeons, like I said earlier. Now, for the set gear, I am rocking a 2-piece Vithus. However, I would actually, this is the build that I would recommend. I am not using all of my, I'm not really min-maxing the build currently because I am going to the Blood Knight here in the very near future when it releases here in just under a week. Now, what I would recommend is actually a 4-piece Vithus. The reason being is that you get the increased duration by 30%, as well as you get the increased attack speed. So that's even more burns that we're applying for 3 seconds after using a beneficial effect. So the other gear that I would recommend, I don't think I have any currently equipped. Yeah, no. Is going to be Banquet of Eyes. Actually, I do. So I'm actually going to recommend a 4-piece Vithus and a 2-piece Banquet of Eyes. Reason being is the 2-piece of Banquet of Eyes gives you damage dealt to enemies suffering from your continual damage effects is increased by 15%. So you do a just additional 15% damage when somebody is suffering from your continual damage effects, which our auto attacks are applying with this legendary. Boom. That's it, guys. That's literally it. That's the build. You are your set gear, all of your gear is playing interchangeably with everything that you're already using. This build is a lot of fun to use, and like I said, does a ton of damage. Would be doing even more damage if I had my 2-piece Banquet of Eyes, but as you can see, I'm saving all of that for the Blood Knight. Let me know what you guys think of this build. This is actually one of the builds that I feel really good about. I've seen other YouTubers also create a very similar build, so shout out to them, or if it's exactly the same or similar. This is really one of those really kind of like all-encompassing good damage builds, and I'm adding it to my collection on my playlist for the best builds for Diablo Immortal because it truly does belong in that category. So let me know what you guys think of this build, or if there's a different build I should try out as a Crusader, because I do have about just under a week to go before I switch to the Blood Knight for probably the foreseeable future. And so that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Until next time, lock it in.